Just like that, baby, we're back with another brand new episode of the Untitled Podcast. And of course, I'm Eduardo. And unfortunately, my partner in crime isn't here with me today. So if you can tell by the sound of my voice, I'm actually pretty sad, depressed. I've been crying myself to sleep all night. I'm just playing. My boy's obviously out on vacation. He is in Washington, D.C. He's supposed to be back here very, very soon. So he'll be definitely back with us on the next episode that we record. But he's been having a good time so far from what I've seen on his IG photos, the stuff that he's been posting up. He's having an awesome time. So it's definitely a good little break, I guess you can say, for him, since, you know, we're constantly doing the same thing, going to work, coming home, doing this, you know, doing it 5 days out of the week, sometimes 7. So it's definitely refreshing for him. So I miss my brother. Can't wait to have him back. And yeah, so you have me for today for this episode that I will do alone, and I will do my best not to bore you people. And I'm sorry if I'm stumbling everywhere. This is pretty much off the tip. This is what not the segment off the tip, but this is off the head right now, where I just wanted to record something and give all you lovely listeners and viewers something to listen to and enjoy. So hopefully everybody's having a fantastic day. First and foremost, I'm recording this on Wednesday, and hopefully this will drop on Friday when you are listening to this when it comes out. But we've got some pretty interesting stuff to talk about today. Obviously, we do a little segment called Off the Tip, where we just talk about the most randomest topics and just kind of deep dive into them. And I'll do my best to kind of give my thoughts and opinions and just what I think about what, you know, I come across news-wise, or just interesting topics, or just things that I just come across and I'm like, holy F, what is this and where are we going with this? But yeah, let's start off with something in regards to this whole thing we call the Metaverse. There's a lot going on with this. It seems that there's a lot of more companies that are really, really heavily investing into this, and it's becoming more of a reality than just this whole topic of a virtual reality world. Now, something like this back in the days, if somebody were to tell me that eventually someone's going to create this, you know, virtual world where we can plug in and it can be just a whole different thing aside from your actual real physical life, you know, or the real world that are in, I'd probably think you're nuts, and I'd probably think you're talking about a movie or just maybe a book or whatever, you know. But, you know, fast forward 2022, it is insane that this is just really happening, and it's becoming much more of reality. And, you know, I still, when I read stuff like this, I sit there and think, and I go down this like imaginary rabbit hole where I almost tend to kind of freak myself out a little bit, because it's like you would see this stuff in the movies, right? You would see this type of stuff being talked about in movies, like not Terminator, that's a horrible one, but The Matrix, right? That's like the big one, right? Where you plug in and you're in this whole different world, obviously, and you have to unplug to escape it. And, you know, there's other movies too that I can compare it to, but I'm horrible with remembering names, so I'm sorry. But there's other movies that can kind of give a good almost visual of what that could possibly be like. You know, hopefully it's for the greater good instead of the bad. I mean, you know, like we were talking about before in past previous episodes, which you can check out on all streaming platforms and on our YouTube page, it can be considered for the good, right? But there's also, with the good, I feel like, me personally, there's always the bad stuff that comes with it, because, you know, you take away those key factors where you're not really physically interacting with people, right? That's kind of like the first thing that comes to my mind. And then you get so like used to a certain thing where, you know, if everybody's plugging in, you're at home, you're plugging in, and that's all you really do. You don't really go out, you know, catch some sun, you know, go out there and, you know, really do stuff, you know, like if you go hiking, you go work out, all that stuff. It's like, you know, being in one solid spot or one solid location, I guess you could say, it's not really a good idea. That's just my opinion. I guess I could be wrong 1,000 times, but that's just what I think. But let's start off with this article here that I came across here within the interwebs. So let's start off with this one, right? This one was really interesting that I read. It's I'll plug up the link on our YouTube page when I drop this in the description, so you can just check out this article as a reference. But I have two. This one goes hand in hand with the next one that I'll be talking about. So VR headsets are headed to your car's backseat, and that alone is pretty interesting to me. I mean, instead of just listening to music, conversating with people, I guess just out there. That's all last year. This is the new wave, I guess you can say, right? What the new kids say nowadays, or the young cats. So forget the stereo. Your next car could come with a virtual reality entertainment system. Okay. Holoride, a tech startup whose promise is turning vehicles into moving theme parks, recently announced that at SXSW Festival in Austin that is bringing VR headsets to select Audi SUVs and sedans this summer. With the HoloRide system, Audi passengers will be able to blend what they see on the actual journey with augmented reality elements via motion synchronization technology. Passengers can fly over rainforests or enter a virtual office to join a work call. That's pretty wild. All from the backseat of the car, according to the company. And HoloRide says its technology adapts the experiences to each trip's length, location, and the driving style of the person at the wheel to offer new content each time you climb into the car. HoloRide's goal is to monetize the many hours people spend in cars each year. HoloRide and the companies it's partnering with on an in-car experience are also looking ahead to a possible future filled with self-driving cars. Okay, so let's pause on that note right there, right? If they really make these augmented cars to where they can legitimately drive themselves, with, I mean, you can't really say it's going to be perfect, right? But let's say it has a less likely to like put you in a situation where for a bit it happens, right? But when you crash into something or whatever, an accident happens. I can see it, I guess, in a good way. That would be cool to have, I guess, in your car if you want that option. But I mean, nowadays you always see people freaking texting on their phones while they're driving. That to me personally annoys me the most. And I have to honk. I'm sorry if I'm a dick. I honk at people if I see them texting and there's a red light and I'm like, hey, green light, go. And I'm just fucking honking my horn. I get so freaking irritated by that because I used to do that before. And I know now it's like, it only takes a couple seconds for you to, you might hit somebody in front of you or you're not paying attention, someone hits you or whatever. It could just go wrong in so many ways. And yeah, no bueno. But I guess you could say with certain circumstances, I guess with this, I don't know, man. It just seems kind of, I would have to see it in action. I guess you could say, right? Never say never on certain things, but I would have to see this for myself. So let's see where we left off. HoloRide and the companies it's partnering with on in-car experiences are also looking ahead to possible future filled with self-driving cars. In that world, everyone in a vehicle could be a passenger, and there may be opportunities for new entertainment products and subscription services. The partnership also comes at a time when VR headsets broadly appear to be gaining more traction with consumers. HoloRide spun out from Audi in 2019 and partnered with the Swedish software development firm Terranet to build the sensors and software required to quickly process a vehicle's surroundings and translate the data into VR responses. Audi still holds a minority interest in the VR company through Audi Electronics Ventures, a subsidiary that developed the tech and licenses it to HoloRide. But HoloRide is no exclusive to Audi and is using an open platform that will allow any car manufacturer to use the entertainment system. We are always open to working with other automotive car manufacturers and hope to make as many vehicles HoloRide capable as possible. Rodolph Buemster, the company's director of marketing and communications, told CNN Business. HoloRide uses open source software, which means that any developer will be able to create unique experiences for the in-car system, and it allows for brands to push curated content. The company said it has partnered with automotive gaming technology and media firms, including Porsche and Shell Games, to build up its content platform, and the HTC Vive Flow will be the first VR headset equipped with HoloRide system. Crucially, HoloRide claims that it's found a way to address one key issue with the VR experiences in the cars: motion sickness. Okay, with that being said, yeah, I can definitely see people fucking barfing up a storm with this thing, knowing that you're in a moving car, and then all of a sudden you throw these VR goggles and you're, freaking skydiving, or you're in a freaking forest or wherever, it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like, we're so used to, as humans, right? You get in the car, you're riding along, you listen to music at most, or, the highest thing, it's just watching like a video. You have like entertainment system where you pop in like a DVD, right? And you're watching, a video. But with this, it's like a whole I don't know. This type of stuff is where it's like, why? That's the first thing I ask myself, why? I guess any way to make a quick buck for these companies, they're looking at any way for them to push anything to the consumer, which is us, right? Where, yeah, it'd be cool if I get this new Audi, but equip it with the latest and greatest, which means a whole new VR system. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know. It could just be me, right? That I'm just kind of like, I don't know why they were doing this, but I don't know. I mean, you lovely folks listen to this. Let us know in the comments when we post this. What is it? when we post this episode up on our YouTube in the comments, let us know, like, what do you think? Would you, when you buy a car, like years and years down the road, right? Would this be an option for you to equip it with a full blown VR system for you and the kids, or you and your wife, or whatever, you know? Would this be something you would invest in? Me, like I said, I would have to see it to see how it all functions and goes about, and just, you know, the kinks that they're going to work out of this, because obviously nothing's going to be perfect right off rip, but it just seems too much for me. It's too much at this point. Like I said, I'm just cool with just, you know, listening to some music, whoever I'm riding in the car with, you know, having a good conversation, all that. You know, actually, this is something that would be cool though, right? The whole VR experience, I mean, it's interesting, but it's just something that I don't really jive with personally. But one thing that I did come across, and I do not remember the name of this podcast, but if you ever listen to this, or you come across this episode, or come across us, the Typical podcast, I did come across a pod that this guy literally drives around. I want to say he's an Uber driver, and he records podcasts while he drives. I think that's awesome. Now, and I think he involves the people that he goes around and he picks up, and he has, like, you know, he'll ask them random questions or just get a good conversation going. And that's content right there. I think that's that's amazing. That's cool. That's something that you don't really see too much of, right? And you got to be really creative to come up with the idea to where, like, you know, I'm going to try to do something. It's like hitting two birds with one stone type deal, right? I thought that was interesting. Something like that, I could say, where, like, maybe you equip it with a sweet ass mic and you can freaking record your content here, you know? I mean, what's the difference? You might just have a little cool, like a little hidden mic somewhere, top of the line mic, somewhere in your car, and you can record a full blown conversation with somebody with you, and you can record a pod while driving. Boom, right there. That's an idea. I'm gonna copyright that so we can make millions off that. That's Tip Touch idea right there. But no, it's this whole VR thing to me though. I don't know. I'd have to see it in action. Hopefully they have more of this as the years go by. To see how this will play out. But for now, I mean, yeah, it's whatever. I mean, what do you guys think? Tell us. We want to know what, you know, people's opinions are on this, you know, and just maybe you can persuade me to fucking next time I get an Audi, or if I get an Audi, I mean, maybe if I get one of those cars they equip it with, I might get one for me or in the family, you know, fuck, slip on those VR goggles. Let's go, baby. But yeah, I mean, I thought this article was interesting. I definitely wanted to just, talk about it here on the pod. I mean, yeah, VR headsets are headed to your car's back seat. Okay. So the next article that I do want to talk about for this segment is shopping in the metaverse. You know, knowing that it's a virtual reality world, or just a world that's just digital, however way you want to put it, right? You talk about people spending money on this, and the idea is not too far from in comparison to, you know, for me, I would say I'm a casual gamer, not as much as I used to game before, but I play here and there, right? The one thing that's so relative to this is, you know, for the popular game Fortnite, right? People buy skins, people buy weapons, people buy these silly dance moves that their characters do, and that's owning something like virtual, right? Like, you don't really own it, but you own it in a sense, like, you know, you paid for that skin, you paid for that weapon. I mean, what any difference is this, you know, where if you do step into the meta, you say your avatar is just a plain Jane type avatar, right? You have like a plain white shirt with some just blue jeans and white kicks. But hey, Nike now is selling some freaking sweet Nike Air Force Ones for a low amount of $150 or whatever. I mean, I don't know, man. It's crazy to think that this is really coming to fruition, where people are probably already doing it. I don't know if, like, I haven't really looked into it to see if you know, like, I guess you can say you can actually go about and start interacting with people. I think it's up and running. I'm just kind of out of the loop in regards to, like, if this thing's already taken off and people are already buying clothes within the metaverse from Nike or any other the other companies that already heavily invested into this. But to think that, I guess you're just spending money within another world to have a living within that world, if that makes sense. I mean, I may not be making sense. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to, like, kind of put it into the simplest terms, right? But let's get into this article. It's called "Shopping in the Metaverse Could Be More Fun Than You Think." So this is what the article says. Let's dive in this one. As I enter the Alo yoga store, the sounds of burbling waterfall, chirping birds, and my soft footsteps awaken my senses. I pass by faceless white mannequins and shelves filled with pink, yellow, and seafoam green yoga mats. T-shirts, leggings, and socks line the walls. For a moment, I forget where I really am. Then I realize I can't touch anything. I'm not in a physical store. I'm sitting at a computer using the gaming platform Roblox, immersed in an experience called Aloe's Sanctuary. In real life, Aloe's black and white goat jacket costs $286. Sheesh. In Hello Sanctuary, Roblox users can earn the virtual jacket after completing 5 days of meditation. Okay. Shopping never felt more serene or cheap. Hello Sanctuary is just an example of how big brands are diving deeper into the metaverse, virtual spaces where people can work, play, and socialize. The metaverse is much hyped. Facebook has hinged its future to it, rebranding as Meta, but is still largely unformed. It could still fizzle out like so many concepts before it. Still, if these virtual worlds catch on, the metaverse could transform the way businesses attract new customers and how people shop. Unlike conventional online shopping or buying items in a physical store, these immersive virtual spaces push the boundaries of what's people in real life. Whew, man, I don't know, man. I just still can't wrap my head around this, honestly. I guess it's just because it's so new. And for me, like I said, I've seen this so many times, and just like, the idea of being in a virtual world, it's already here. It's literally plug in, put your VR goggles on, and boom. Now, and I think they're going to advance this as time goes on, obviously. I think it's going to be to a point where maybe this somehow you just slip onto this like helmet looking like thing, and you really feel like you're in a whole different world, to where it's so immersive where you won't be able to tell if you're in real life, or you won't be able to tell if you're in the real world. Like it's going to get that perfected, I guess you can say. And at that point, I mean, dude, you can just imagine like all the things that, you're really doing. I mean, and then the fact that these companies are going to still be making massive money, like, for example, this store, right? They're talking about this $268 jacket. I mean, like, you can only wear it in the meta. Like, you can't even wear it in real life. I mean, is it really worth it? Honestly, is it really worth it? For me right now, no. Hail to the no. Now, mind you, I'd be curious to step into the meta. And we've talked about this before, me and Brett, about, hosting live shows, like, with everybody that's listened to us, or, just been following us since day one. It'd be cool to interact with everybody. Oh, we would love that. That would be probably the one only thing we would really want to do, is to set up like a stage, or go, like, I'm assuming we'd probably rent something in the meta, right? We'd have to rent out like a venue, I guess you could say, and host like a Metaverse live Tip podcast show, and have it be interactive like that, like talk to everybody there, and just, deep dive into just rabbit holes of just the unknown, and just really have a good time. See, something like that, I could say be worth it. And I guess they are doing stuff like that in regards to, they're talking about how athletes want to, invest into the metaverse in regards to like meeting their fans, and, having those one-on-one experiences with the fans and all that. But I'm sure they're going to charge like a hefty price for that. I don't see it being any cheap. I think it should be at that point, because it's like, what are you really, I mean, it's not like an actual live experience. Like, how cool would it doesn't sound cool to me to say like, oh yeah, let's just put a name out there, right? I met Tom Brady at the airport. Like, for me, legitimately to meet Tom Brady at the airport, like physically there, cool. In the meta, yeah, not really. I would think that would be kind of lame, personally. That's just my opinion. So it wouldn't really fly on the cool zone in regards to like, it's just not in real life. I don't buy it. Like, it's just, my mind doesn't trigger to where it's not, I won't say worth it, but I guess let's say like, right, if you can't make it to a game where you had backstage passes to meet so-and-so or whatever, or a show, I guess you can say, different story. I guess, you could say that would be definitely worth it, but I don't know. It's crazy to think that, these companies are already really, really heavily investing into this. And I mean, they're talking about, they're like dropping millions and millions. Like Nike, I think, already said that they patented something in regards to the metaverse, where they're going to sell shoes and clothing. And, the UFC wants to actually hold the first fight in the metaverse. We've talked about that in the past previous episode. So, I mean, it's already, they're going with this. They're definitely going to try to, make some money off this whole new, metaverse concept. And it's just, I'm really curious to see how it's going to pan out, though. I really want to see this. I guess you can say I want to be able to see it, to see how it really like looks, because I know they're going to advance this, like in regards to the VR goggles, right? They're going to advance this so much to where, like I said, it's going to get to a point where you won't know whether, if like, is this real life or is this virtual reality? Like, is this the virtual world we're in right now? It's crazy. I don't know. I think about that type of stuff. I mean, when I'm just kind of like in my zone in regards to like if I'm working out or something, or if I'm working on my job, listening to these podcasts talk about the metaverse and all that, and just virtual reality, the effect that it could have on your mind or just as a person. I don't know. It's just, I guess, the unknown. That's really kind of what, gets me kind of, I'm not sure about this, right? But I thought that was really interesting though, how, I guess, yeah, we're going to be able to shop in the metaverse, shop for your little avatars, be able to buy some land, being able to buy some shoes, clothes, all that stuff. It's just, yeah, man, it's insane. But let's move on to the next one, all right? And this one, we're going to switch it up a bit. And that's what we like to do here on the Twitch podcast. We like to switch it up, every episode and just talk about the most randomest things. And this is more down the lane in regards to UFOs. And of course, yours truly here. I'm fascinated in regards to just the UFO spectrum of things. It's one of those taboo type subjects, but personally, like I like to hear everybody out, like in regard, or just read different stories, right? Or just listen to people like on videos talk about their UFO experiences or whatever. Even like with the paranormal and all that stuff, it's very interesting because before me making a judgment on anything, and this goes the same with Bigfoot, right? Because we've had, Hector and Eric before. Go check that out. It was an interesting episode. It has to do with Bigfoot. Check that out. It's on video and audio if you haven't. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And we're going to do something in regards with Bigfoot. I don't want to put too much out there, but just stay tuned. I'll just say stay tuned with that. But I would want to hear just everything out in regards to if it's like the paranormal, UFOs, or Bigfoot, right? Because I like to go in there with like a open mind, right? And I'm not judgmental right off the bat, unless it's like something like just blown out, like out of this world, right? I probably be like, all right, I'm a little skeptical now. The skeptical alert is high. But with stuff like this, I mean, there's just a lot of evidence in regards, or just there's a lot of things that you kind of have to take it with like a grain of salt in a sense. But I mean, you sit there and think like, what if, right? You always got to just ask yourself that one question: what if? But this article, let's go into this, right? Let's go into this with an open mind together, and let's just see what we think about this. The tale of Calvin Parker was telling seemed better suited to a campfire than a lecture at a public library. It began with a classic scary story setup. In 1973, Parker was 18 years old and somewhere he was not supposed to be. He and his friend Charlie Hickson were fishing on private property at the Pascagoula River when they saw blue lights behind them, and Parker assumed it was the law. I was thinking we were fixing to go to jail. We're trespassing. We're on the private property, so I turned around and looked, and all of a sudden, a bright light hit us. Parker then realized it wasn't the police, he said, but three robotic-looking like creatures gliding across the water toward the two men, and they were ugly. I know they had gray skin like an elephant, stood about 5 foot tall, and I know there was robots because the way they moved. Chances are you probably know what happens next. And it's very possible you even believe the story that Parker and Hickson, who died in 2011, were abducted by the unidentified creatures, taken to the spaceships, examined, and released to a lifetime of notoriety for the alleged events October 11, 1973. Parker believes 90% of the Mississippi coast has heard the story, and he says he's the only person that has never told them to his face that didn't believe him. He told that the tale again to an inmate crowd at a March 14th talk at the Lucedale, George County Public Library. Questioners in the audience on a recent evening in Lucedale prodded him to recount details they already knew or half remembered from an old TV specials or Parker's 2 books. An unexpected question came from the youngest person in attendance, an 11-year-old Bailey Williams, who stood up and asked, "I was wondering, what did the ship look like on the floors and ceilings? I wish I'd brought my sketch pad," Parker answered, "but it was kind of like a football on the outside. It wasn't like your typical UFO," he added. "There were portholes visible on the sides." After the talk, having selected a thick stack of mystery books to borrow from the library, Bailey explained that her question about the spaceship's exterior stemmed from curiosity. "I was wondering if they maybe had designs on the floors that contributed to their type of people or something like that, a culture thing." Bailey planned to write up the event for a newspaper she writes and distributes to the neighbors for about 15 cents per copy. Bailey originally found out that Parker's story through an old Sun Herald article about the abduction, which she found while rummaging through our barn. The clipping is now taped to her wall. She said that the story sparked her interest because it took place whenever my Juju was a kid, gesturing at her grandmother, whom she had dragged to the event. Her grandmother, Judy Williams, was 10 years old in 1973 and living in Arkansas. When Judy moved to Hurley as a teenager, she started hearing about the Pascagoula alien abduction and believed the story from the start. I've seen things in the sky before and I couldn't explain, she said. Twice, Bailey interjected. I'm actually kind of upset she got to see it. Parker is a gruff 67-year-old with a thick Mississippi drawl, and he's tired. I'm tired of books. I'm tired of making appearances, he told the 19 attendees at the event. He was also tired because early the same day he had completed a chemotherapy regimen for lung cancer and left the hospital to find his car battery stolen. Parker suspects his many health problems, which have also included a stroke, kidney cancer, 2 open heart surgeries, are somehow connected to his abduction. Parker lives with his wife in Escatawapa and can get from his house to the site of his abduction in 25 minutes by boat. He settled in Jackson County after a career in the oil industry, including stints working overseas in Saudi Arabia and Singapore. For some in the audience, the event represented a chance to meet a living icon of the modern Gulf Coast folklore and a figure remembered from childhood. Librarians had set out an array of alien-related books from the collection on the table next to the podium. Chuck Norton, a 73-year-old retired machinist living in Rocky Creek, remembered seeing Parker in Hickinson on the Tonight Show in the 1970s and has never lost his interest in UFOs since then. During the talk, he got the chance to ask questions long burning in his mind, like whether Parker had smelled or tasted anything on board the ship. Answer: nothing could overpower the fish smell from the nearby Poggy plant. And if the fingers of the feminine creature who fell around his throat during the examination were warm and cold, they were warm. Kathy Davis, a retired elementary school teacher, grew up in Lucedale, and remembering hearing about the incident when she was 8. It was in the paper, and I remember I saw the paper, and I would hear my daddy talking to my mother about it, just kind of puzzled. She said after the talk ended. Decades later, Davis read one of the Parker's books and found it very convincing because I didn't feel like he was trying to hide anything. She says her views are common in Lucedale. I think the general consensus is, I remember when that happened. We believe something happened, something not of this world. It's crazy. So, and we've heard a little bit about this. There's actually another incident I do want to touch bases on this on the next episode up in the future when Brett's here to kind of get his opinion on this, because I think he's a little bit more. I want to say he believes a little bit more, but he's more open to the thought like it may be some highly advanced technology that a different country is working on, or something of ours, right? Something that the U.S. military is testing and trying to see what could go up against it in regards to like being able to keep up with it flying wise and all that. So, but it was an incident in regards to 2 couples where they got abducted and they were telling this story with like detail per detail. And till this day, like they can't really say they were making up, the story that they got abducted and stuff like that is, it's kind of, I wouldn't want to say these people are just making these stories up for publicity or anything, because a lot of the times, a lot of these people don't really gain anything from it. Unless like it's just like a folklore or a story or whatever, people know about it in town, wherever they're from. But at the most, I mean, what are they gaining from this? And that's the thing, like, right? Like, this is why stuff like this is really interesting, because some people they have really key details about certain little things. Like, this one in regards to like his health effects. I mean, dude, this guy had, I'm gonna try to go scroll down to the part where he talks about all this, like all the stuff that he was going through. Bear with me 1 minute. Kidney cancer, a stroke, kidney cancer, 2 open heart surgeries, and that they believe is somehow connected to his abduction. I mean, I don't know, man, that right there is kind of like a red flag. Like, so all that stuff happened to him as he got older, but then again, it's like maybe it could have been hereditary, where down his family line they had cancer or something like that. Whatever, you can make a solid reason for that, right, or something like that. But I don't know. This is very, very interesting to me, and I think I might have heard this story before, and I just never really took the time to really fully read it through. But see, it's like this. People have heard about this too, right? Where in his town they were talking about that. They've heard about the story. They've heard about him, how he supposedly got abducted. And, they talk about it in the town, and people see these things. People see these things like, they see lights in the sky and all that. And it's becoming much more of, I guess you can say, a lot of people are actually seeing a lot of this type of stuff out there, and they're coming out forward with it, talking about it more. Because, back in the days, I can say when I was younger, it was like more of a taboo type deal where people will talk about UFOs, right? Even with Bigfoot, the same thing. And me, I'll tell you straight up right now, when you would talk about Bigfoot or bring up the fact of Bigfoot back in the days, like, hey, yeah, right. Like, there's no way. There's just this ginormous beast out there just roaming the woods and just popping out at people, and then just never been able to be caught. they had some photos or some audio recordings back then that I found out about now, but that's a whole different thing. But I mean, I guess you could say now I'm just a little more open to hearing this type of stuff, to just really hear like, all right, well, maybe there could be, it has to be something, but we don't know what it really is, right? But with UFOs and specifics, I mean, it's, if the government's coming out and saying, yeah, we've actually have a program having to do with these UAPs, that we're really trying to focus on these things to figure out what they really are, what do they want, and who has possession of them, So they're thinking other countries are involved with this, I think you could say, but maybe it's one of ours, and they don't want to really kind of leak in the full details and come out with it and be truthful, because I mean, I think at that point it's like we might have technologies that are just so far into the future that other people would want some of that too as well, other countries, so I don't know, man. I mean, I want to hear people's opinions on this. I mean, if you believe in like Bigfoot, aliens, any other cryptids out there, there's a bunch. I mean, I've heard it all, man. And there's other podcasts that I have actually taken the time to listen to. I know we do get some DMs here and there on our Instagram page with a lot of interesting, cool podcasts that talk about all this type of stuff, just, that are more in the kind of like in the same circle as with us, I do want to give a huge shout out, actually, give me 1 minute, to a podcast that reached out to us, and they were, this individual took the time out of their day to send us a video of them just saying thank you for liking our posts. We really appreciate it. I thought it was a very nice gesture, and we definitely want to return the favor and kind of give you a shout out. And it's a podcast that goes by the name of Ready Conspiracy One. Go check them out. I've listened to their first episode, which was funny when they were talking about like, the ice cream truck. If I just say it was funny, and that's all I want to say. It has humor in it, which I like. I mean, it's got to be a little skosh of humor, because it just makes it better for the most part, right? But shout out to Ready Conspiracy One. Thank you for sending the awesome video. Very appreciative for that. I mean, we've gone. Again, if we don't respond to any of your DMs, don't take it to the heart. It's only me and Brett running this thing. We do all the editing, all the recording, all that stuff. It's mostly on us. It's a 2-man band type deal. So bear with us, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But we definitely take note, and just listen to other podcasts too when we have the time to really go through some episodes here and there, to just really just dive into other stuff that people are talking about, or are in the same lane like we are too, because I mean, there's other stuff too that I like to hear people's different opinions on it, so it's just very interesting to really, I guess you could say, just hear what the people got to say, I guess you can say, so it's very cool. It's very cool. And the podcast community, the more and more we're doing this, and we just meet other people from that have pods, it's very awesome. I think the community is very good where it's at right now, and it's definitely something that I'm personally glad to be a part of, because like I said, if anybody that's been following us from day one, this wasn't really my calling, to be honest. I wasn't even supposed to be like, I guess, a co-host. I was supposed to be more the behind the scenes type guy, you'll probably hear me on the mic here or there, but it wasn't really supposed to be at this caliber where I'm doing this solo episode for all you lovely people, But I mean, it came to that point, I guess you can say, where I had to step up and be like, fuck it, let's just do it. I'll roll with my homie Brett, and we'll make this happen. And man, we are 97 episodes in. This is 97. We are 3 away from 100 episodes. It is just insane to even think we're about to hit 100 episodes. All that time, all that, just, I guess you could say hard work. It is hard work. No, let me backpedal on that. It is hard work. I'll tell you that. We've had our instances where we had to figure out things in regards to the audio, the video, all that. It's been such a journey, but you know what? It's been an awesome one. Learning curve for sure, but I'm glad we pushed through it, and the progress is being seen, and we've have all you lovely listeners and viewers, and we can't be thankful enough. We really appreciate it. But yeah, that's what's on the plate for today. And I try to make it short and sweet, not try to get too carried away with it. It's my first time doing a solo episode. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys to death or anything. Hopefully I try to keep it entertaining for everybody that listens to this. And this coming weekend, My homie Brett's gonna be back. He's gonna be back in the virtual studio. We're gonna chop it up again, talk about his trip. Hopefully he has some awesome stuff to talk about, and then we'll go from there. So I'm gonna sign out. This is another brand new episode of the podcast. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thank you everybody for following us on our Instagram, for liking any of our posts, for commenting, all that good stuff. Thank you. Can't say that enough. But we'll catch you in the next one. Have an awesome Friday. Have an awesome weekend. Stay safe out there. And like always, peace, baby.